But Al-Qaeda is there, they are functioning, they are supported in many ways by the Iranians. We continue to be concerned about Iranian taking Al-Qaeda into Iran, training them and sending them back.
7 minutes later, still having never said extremists, McCain portrays Al-Qaeda and Iran as mutual beneficiaries of a U.S. departure.
If we pull out of Iraq, then obviously the Iranian influence is dramatically increased. Al-Qaeda has greater influence and endangers the region dramatically.
3 minutes later, still never saying extremists, McCain is questioned by a reporter off mic so we can't hear it, not only repeats but defends his previous claim.
It's common knowledge and has been reported in the media that that Al-Qaeda is going back into Iran and receiving training and are coming back into Iraq from Iran. That's well known.
You said that the Iranians were training Al-Qaeda. Training extremists.
I'm sorry, the Iranians are training extremists, not Al-Qaeda. Yeah.
Well, and if John McCain makes another mistake like he did yesterday overseas, where he got the Shia confused with the Sunni, confused with Al-Qaeda, confused with Iran, the number of people who want the troops out of Iraq will double overnight. I mean, what kind of leadership is that? He's over there talking to foreign dignitaries, and he has no idea who the players are.
I'd like to ask you about a moment yesterday when you were speaking about the influence of Iran, and there was a gaffe, if you call it that. When you described Iran aiding Al-Qaeda, does that suggest that your depth of knowledge on some of the cultural issues may not be as great as some of your military knowledge?
Al-Qaeda is military. Al-Qaeda is killing Americans as we speak. Islamic extremists are being trained in Iran, and they are being sent back into into Iraq.
What John McCain is clearly trying to do here is to conflate, again, all of the bad guys over there in a way to confuse Americans who are not paying close attention.
I think John and others have a fundamental misunderstanding of the relationship of Al-Qaeda to Iraq.
General Petraeus has said, and I take his word for it, that Iraq is now the central front in the war against Al-Qaeda.
I read and listened to the testimony of John McCain questioning General Petraeus. And John McCain asked him about being the central front. And he said, how do you know it's the central front? And he said, because I talked to the head of the National Intelligence and another general, and they tell me Al-Qaeda says it is their central front.
Surely you don't believe that General Petraeus reaches his conclusions by talking to somebody.
I'm quoting
he lives
what
and
General
works
Petraeus
there.
said.
Oh, please.
I'm quoting
General
what he said to you, John.
General, you are quoting him incorrectly.
No, I'm quoting him absolutely correctly.
General Petraeus, you have stated that Iraq is now the central front on the war on terror. Is that a correct quote?
That is correct, sir.
Why is that?
It is based on my conversations with the director of CIA and Lieutenant General McChrystal, the Joint Special Operations Command commander, who have assessed that it is the central front for Al-Qaeda, and they have based that on communications and other things.
President Bush has talked about our staying in Iraq for 50 years.
Maybe 100.
Is that
We've been in South Korea. We've been in Japan for 60 years. We've been in South Korea for 50 years or so. That'd be fine with me.
Someone talks about being in Iraq for 50 years, and you say, could be 100 years. Explain that.
Could be 1,000. Could be 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years. When I got to give you some straight talk, my friends, it's a tough war we're in. It's not going to be over right away. There's going to be other wars. I'm sorry to tell you, there's going to be other wars. We will never surrender, but there will be other wars. And right now, we're going to have a lot of PTSD to treat, my friends. We're going to have a lot of combat wounds that have to do with these terrible explosive IEDs that inflict such severe wounds. And my friends, it's going to be tough, and we're going to have a lot to do.
That old Beach Boys song, Bomberan? Bom, 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 bom. Anyway, talking with some of my old veterans friends, and my response is, lighten up and get a life.
You don't think it was insensitive or in any way making light of it?
The Iranians?
Time to turn Iran into a